How's everybody today? Good?
Yes, sir.
First, just like to thank everybody for coming out. You know, the coverage that you all provide for us is critical, right? Whether it's for recruiting and just covering all the great things that our players and our program at Mercer University do. So I appreciate y'all being here today. As we get rolling on this endeavor, man, it feels like I just got here when standing in this room on, January 18th or something like that. And here we are, we're about 11 days out from our first game. And just really couldn't be more excited. I'm proud of how the kids have worked, both in the off season, through the summer, and now into training camp. I think it says quite a bit about the program and Mercer itself through a coaching change when there's very little attrition through the transfer portal. In terms of exiting players. So certainly they had basically, taken over at a unique time. They had basically finished their high school recruiting class. We signed about 11 transfers in that second transfer cycle. I think got some great additions that way into what already is a talented and veteran roster that was able to make it to the second round of the playoffs. So, as far as training camp goes, finished practice 16 last Saturday. That was the kind of official break of training camp. Our second scrimmage, use that second one a little bit like an NFL preseason game where, the first and second string guys played about the first 50 plays, and then we got some of our young guys, some quality reps there towards the end of it. But really impressed with how this team works. I'm impressed with their maturity. I think, just by the nature of who we have returning, the defense has done a tremendous job throughout training camp and installs. Again, a little more veteran presence in that group, but they have a lot of players that have played a bunch of football in the SoCon, and certainly been led by Isaac Dowling and Ken Stanley there in the middle of the defense, and impressed with what Coach Brown's done and installed. Offensively, a bunch of new faces, right? We lost about 95% of our offensive production between the two wide receivers and also the running back position. So there'll be a number of new faces there, but those guys have done a tremendous job in training camp and with a new offensive system and some of the things that we hope to instill there. And it's not just our culture, but we want it to be about our personality, right? We want to control the line of scrimmage. We want to be physical. We want to be a tough team that's ultimately disciplined. And, all through training camp, those are the things really since we got here that we've been trying to instill in our kids. And we're looking forward to them getting an opportunity to put it in front of everybody next Thursday here at Five Star. So with that, any questions?
You've taken over other football programs in the past. Compare where you feel this football team is in terms of other programs where you've taken over in terms of your process, instilling culture, personality,
Sure,
et cetera. Where do you, with your past experience, where are you?
Sure. This is pretty similar to when I took over at Lenore-Ryan. For a number of reasons. One, because I followed Coach Cronic there, right? That's kind of a unique instance that I don't know how many times has happened in college football where I followed him twice, having never been a member of his staff and not really knowing him. But, the things that he did and why he's a winner was he instilled a lot of those culture things. So many times when you have an opportunity to become a head coach at any level, you're usually cleaning something up, right? It's something's broke or wrong or the culture's bad, and I don't believe that that's the instance here. There's a rock solid foundation of who we want our Mercer football players to be. We've certainly put our own twist on things, and we do things differently. But there's a solid foundation of what's expected of our young men, and so that allows us to be. We're not in a complete rebuild, right? It's already there. So I think we're ahead of the game. Again, there's a bunch of kids that want to win. They've been on the cusp of a SoCon championship really the last 3 seasons, and then last year getting a taste of it in the playoffs. I think they aspire for more, certainly.
Coach, you mentioned a veteran presence in this team this year. Did you say that changes just how this year is going to play out with a lot of guys playing their 5th or even some in their 6th year?
Yeah, really. I mean, you're seeing kids finally that COVID exception year. This is kind of the last, unless somebody gets a crazy medical, right? They're about done with all that stuff. But what you have are guys that have made the decision to extend their college football career in a lot of instances, and to do it here at Mercer. So I think the importance, every season is important to them, but when you're getting close to the finality of things, I think you put an extra emphasis on it. And I think those guys have done a tremendous job, and they've done a great job leading our program through the transition and now as we approach the 2024 season.
You said you're able to bring several kids into the second transfer cycle. What are some of the things you think are attracting kids to this program?
Yeah, I think certainly the education at Mercer, I think the style of offense and defense that we'll play, I think the ability to be in the name, image, and likeness world is part of it. But I think, kids are usually looking for a few things. They're usually looking for playing time. They're looking to be a part of a winner. They're looking for facilities, and they're looking for a great education. And Mercer provides every single one of those things on a national stage, in my opinion. And so I think it's become, an attractive place to transfer. And we want to build it, don't get me wrong, this thing will be built from the ground up with high school football players from a 6-hour radius from here. I look at the portal as a way to enhance the things that we already have, right? And so, this year in particular, with us changing offensive systems slightly, and I'll let Coach Soto talk through some of that, getting some of the style of players that maybe we were looking for that fit what we do a little bit better, so maybe we're a little heavier in the portal this year.
Coach, how do you get, feeding on that, how do you get these players to buy in more, especially with this new transfer portal? I mean, coming to a smaller school like this, what's the motivation?
Sure. You got to remember, this isn't smaller for me, right? I've been in schools with 1,200 people, and the one before that just closed down. So, this is huge to us, right? So the thing that attracts guys are, I still think it all goes back to building relationships. And so if you can build a strong relationship and create a bond on and especially off the field, then I think kids are bought into working hard. And when you have strong leadership of guys that have been here the entire time, they only expect and allow certain things to happen from transfer guys. And you take good kids that want to be a part of something special, that they want to win. And so I think all those things combined, you're seeing a group that's added a great bit of value to what we do in our program.
Coach, talk about your personal transition. Obviously came in January. How are the kids doing? How are Lacey doing?
Yeah. They're settling in. They started school on Wednesday. My oldest is a second grader, and my youngest is doing a year of transitional kindergarten because he's got the wiggles. He can't quite sit still. So, but they're doing fantastic. The city and the community of Macon have been fantastic for us, and we've gotten out and we're able to explore a little bit. They finished the school year in North Carolina, so they didn't get down here until about the first week of June. So I really got the college experience living in the dorms here at Mercer for a few months and being close to work. So it was good. We've transitioned well, and they're excited to get this thing started next week as well.
Coach, you mentioned the number of practices you've had in road camp. Now tomorrow, everybody starts class. What are the remaining priorities to have this team ready for next week against Bradford?
Yeah, we'll start to where we've really focused on us really throughout training camp and our systems and what we do. We'll begin to implement a little more of the scout team type stuff here this week as we get into practice a little bit later in the week and rolling into the official game week for the season. So,
Coach, who are the guys that you're seeing, both offense, defense, and obviously the coordinators will attest to this too? Who, from your standpoint, who are the players that you see on the field leading both sides of the ball?
yeah, again, I mentioned a few of those guys. That linebacker room, really in particular, Isaac Dowling and Ken Stanley have done a great job in that group. I think sticking on the defensive side in the back half. TJ Moore's had a fantastic camp for us. Miles Redding in the back half, and then up front, Jordan Swain, Chris Hill, Arius Nash, Braden Manley, those guys have all on the defensive line played well for us as well. Offensively, again, there's a lot of new faces. I think there's been some consistency. Israeli Mook, he's done a great job. He's a guy that's played a bunch of football for us, kind of the vet on that offensive line with Riley Adcock, and as well as the addition of Xavier Jennings. I think Amari Atchinson's a young guy that's come on throughout the course of training camp. We're seeing different playmakers, again, with Ty and Dev graduating and moving on. It's opened it up for some playmakers, and there's a number of guys who have made plays both in the wide receiver room and in the running back room. So it's been good.
Anything else for Coach Jacobs?
I don't know if you talked about this already, but what are your personal expectations for your offense this season?
Yeah, win, whether it's by 1 or 100. Like that's the goal for all. And I don't mean to be a smart aleck, but I mean that's it. I mean, both in all three phases, what we want to do is again we want to be super physical. We want to be super disciplined, right? We want to eliminate pre-snap penalties in all phases. You know, if you're playing hard, you're playing aggressive, you're playing physical, you're going to have penalties occasionally. But we want to eliminate the stupid stuff that we can control at the pre-snap. We want to play with some tempo. We want to do, you know, we want to protect the football, and then we want to score a bunch offensively. So, good,
Thank you, Coach.
awesome. Thank you guys. Appreciate y'all.
Offensive coordinator, Coach Anthony Soto. Coach, if you would, give us an opening statement about what kind of offense scheme we might look at and what it's been like adjusting to a lot of new players on the
Sure.
offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, I think like Coach said, I think we've had a really good training camp. Certainly a lot of new faces, but seen a lot of improvement compared with the spring, especially up front with the offensive line. I think T.O.'s done a great job getting those guys coached up. And then a lot of new skill players. I think we've seen a number of different guys make some plays for us. Quarterback room, we've had a handful of guys that have really shown they've got the ability to play at a high level. Still working out some of the consistency in that room, but just excited about the group as a whole, and think we've got a chance to be pretty good. Got great work against our defense this camp. You know, it's a group that you look at our defense, all three levels, the D-line, the linebackers, the secondary. You got a number of really, really good players that have challenged us and pushed us, and I think it's been great work for our guys as they prep for Presbyterian. So open it up for questions.
As you implement new schemes, new players, what are you looking for in training camp and practice that indicates to you this player, this set of players are ready to start to get a significant number of snaps? What are you looking for out of your guys?
Sure. You know, the scrimmage situations is, you know, the closest simulation we'll get to game day, but really those settings, and then some of the situational periods, the red zone, the third down, you know, being able to see guys, you know, make plays in those situations, but especially the scrimmages when it's not scripted. You can't go in there and anticipate. I know on, you know, play 2, I'm running this play. You kind of got to react to the call and go make a play in a live setting.
Coach, what's been the biggest adjustment for this offense being brand new?
I think it's just having just so many new faces. You know, Carter graduates, your top 2 receivers graduate. You know, Al is gone. I think we've got a good amount of talent at, you know, all positions, skill-wise, but just not having that veteran presence of a guy like on defense. Coach talked about Ken and Isaac, who've been there 2 or 3 years, played at a really high level that, you know, the whole group can look to and say he's our leader. He's the guy we're following. But you know, I think as the season progresses, you know, as guys make plays, I think those guys will come to the forefront and kind of establish themselves as leaders.
How important is it for your offense to be able to work against an established defense, a defense that has a lot of good players?
Yeah, no, I think it's great as far as us being able to get prepared for the season. You know, a tough conference season. I think as a coordinator, you got to kind of keep in perspective. Sometimes you want it to look crisp and perfect in scrimmage situation when you go up and down the field and, you know, score every time you got the ball, but kind of got to keep in perspective. We got a number of guys there that have garnered all conference honors and played at all American level. So, you know, it's been great to get our guys ready and challenge them to compete throughout camp.
Coach, how has it made it easy knowing that you worked with Coach Jacobs and most of the staff members for a while now? I mean, how has that made the transition, and how has it really applied to you guys now starting a new season together?
Yeah, I think it's been just very comfortable, you know, really smooth transition, kind of know what to expect from Coach as far as how he runs the program, his expectations of the staff, of the kids, you know, how we operate in terms of, you know, running practice and off-season conditioning and everything that way. And there's a comfort level within the staff and kind of a family atmosphere that way. So really smooth transition coming here to Mercer.
And a good segue to that, the transition, not only working with the same coaches you work with, but some of your players came with you. Talk about those players that transferred into Mercer and how they've adjusted.
Yeah, those 3, I think that's been huge, having Dwayne McGee, Keelan Parsons, Xavier Jennings here. You know, we don't, like I said, we don't have veteran guys that have been here at Mercer, but having those guys who have played in our system, you know, they know what I'm like, they know what Coach Jacobs is like, they know kind of his expectations, and help bridge the gap a little bit with our younger guys. And it's been great to see. I had high expectations of them being able to come in, fit right in and be playmakers for us. But, been really, really excited with what they've done here in camp. So, I was just telling somebody the other day that called the plays for 4 years at LR, and that was my first opportunity calling the plays. And Xavier, Keelan, Dewey have been starters for us from my first game calling the plays. So it's cool to be able to bring those guys with us for their final year of college ball and for us moving up to this opportunity.
Talk about your depth at quarterback. I would say it was prime position on the field.
Sure.
What have you seen from your group there this preseason?
Yeah, I think we've seen, a number of guys flash and make some really nice throws and operate the offense at a high level and move us down the field. I think the biggest thing we're looking for in these last 10 or 11 days we move into week one is, who's the guy who can do it with the most consistency. But, certainly DJ's, a guy who's flashed for us, done a lot of great things, both with his arm and his legs. Our freshman guys, Nico and Witt have both very different types of players. Witt's more of your traditional pocket passer. Nico's more of your athlete who can throw it, but you can get him involved in the quarterback run game. He can hurt you with his legs, getting out of the pocket. But both of those guys have played really well and been impressive as freshmen, just operate the offense. Nico was here in the spring, and Witt was here early in the summer. But sometimes you forget they're only 18 years old, but they are playing at a high level. And then we're just now getting Hess Horn back from injury. Played in our scrimmage this past Saturday and did pretty well. I think completed 8 of 11 passes. Ran the offense efficiently and got us going. So really all 4 of those guys have shown the ability to do some good things at quarterback.
Coach, as we're getting closer to the first game next week, if you were asked to describe the Mercer offense in 2024, what would be a description of this offense?
Yeah, I think the number one thing I want to see is just us be fast and physical, regardless of personnel, play type, scheme. Is we want to play fast and physical. Right now, be a team that's going to base primarily out of 11 personnel, being an up-tempo team. Want to control the line of scrimmage and be physical, but be balanced as well. Be able to take our shots down the field and be explosive in the pass game. And then also a team that plays smart, fundamentally sound, doesn't beat ourselves, doesn't have turnovers, limits negative yardage plays, and then scores a lot of points. And like Coach said, does what it takes to win. Every game's going to be a little bit different as far as just a total team game plan to win. There's going to be sometimes we may have to play up tempo and throw the ball 40 times. There's going to be other times where we may have to slow it down and it's more of a ball control game. But we want to make sure we've got the ability to do all different types of things that way.
All right, anything else for Coach Soto? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, Coach Jamal Brown, our defensive coordinator. Coach, you probably felt like it was Christmas come early when you saw the returning players you had. Talk to us about the defense you inherited and some of the things you guys worked on.
Yeah, so obviously no mystery, right? We have a lot of guys back who've played a lot of football here. So me kind of knowing that, understanding that coming in the spring, for me it was more so about trying to find the perfect mix of guys. We lost a couple guys up front and in the secondary, so really trying to find out who else we had on the roster that can step up and play big for us. And coming out of the spring, you felt really good about returning guys in the back end like Miles Redding and TJ Moore. All right, and then you had the emergence of Chris Joins, Juwan Johnson in that safety room, and then you had the emergence in the corner room of Miles Weston and Dances Miller. So, seeing what those guys were able to do in the spring, seeing what other guys, Braden Manley, who kind of stepped up a little bit last season, seeing him kind of take another step forward in the spring. Christian Hansen, just on the edge, was really well. Was good for me to see those guys do that stuff, right? And then going into the summer, just kind of building, right? We had a couple freshmen that we brought in, but just seeing those guys continue to build, right? And then getting into this fall camp, obviously getting Isaac Dowling back has been huge for us, right? Obviously he's had a great career so far, but you don't really realize the impact that he has until he's back on the field full go. So we finally got a chance to see that this past fall, and it's been great, man. So right now we're really just focused on just continuing to get better, right? We want to be fast, we want to be physical. I look at us as an opportunistic defense. We want to do a great job at getting our hands on footballs, right, getting after the quarterback, and just taking advantage of any opportunity that we get. So far it's been good. It's been a really great transition for us. Myself and the defensive staff looking forward to kicking things off next Thursday. So, any questions?
Coach, as you know, obviously, especially early in the season, your side of the ball, team's gonna be relying on y'all, I think, a good bit as everybody gets going. How do you prepare your defenders from a mental standpoint, from a physical standpoint, to know, hey, we may be on the field for a good bit, we may need to turn the ball over, get turnovers. How do you prepare them to do that from a mental and physical standpoint?
Right, I think it's all about like culture, you know what I mean, and what you instill in those guys. It really doesn't matter like what's happening in any other phase of the game, right? It doesn't matter how many snaps are on the field. Every time we're out there, we're giving our all, right? So there's no, getting down about being on the field for, a 10-play drive or a 3-play drive. Is all about just attacking the moment, being present in the moment, and doing the best that we can in that moment. And then understanding that we do have depth, I think, at each level. So we're expecting you to go out each and every snap, and you're going to play your hardest each and every snap. And when you need a break, we'll get that next guy in. So, I mean, that's really what it's about, just focusing on what we're doing defensively. It's great when the offense is playing well, when special teams are playing well, and we're clicking on all cylinders. But, just understand that regardless of what's happening, right, we have to do our job. So, anything else?
Jamal, Youngstown State last year, obviously Coach Jacobs needs a defensive coordinator. What was it that attracted you? I know you have a history of Coach Jacobs in your early coaching career, but what was it that attracted you to Mercer and working with Coach Jacobs again?
Really, like you mentioned, working with Coach Jacobs as well as Coach Soto, we've been together at different points in time since 2016. So just getting the opportunity to get back with Coach, having an opportunity to step into a new situation. I'm always looking for opportunities to grow, as a coach, and I felt Mercer provided me with that opportunity. Being back in the South, just having a chance to recruit here, having a chance to kind of reestablish, myself down here in the South was kind of what drew me here. And then also, honestly, having a chance with PFF and all the things you have in today's day and time, having an opportunity to actually look at the film and look at the other teams in the conference and look at, where we were as a team, prior to coming here, you look at it as another great opportunity.
I know we keep singing these guys' praises, Isaac Allen, Ken Stanley. What is that as a luxury for you as a defensive coordinator, and what have you been able to teach them in the preseason?
Well, again, having veterans is always a big deal, and especially in that linebacker room where you're doing a lot of different things defensively, some things similar, but when you're doing some new stuff, right, it's great to have a group of guys that are smart, that can handle change and can rally the troops. And so it's been good having those guys. I think they've done a good job at stepping up and being leaders this fall camp. I think, moving forward, as they transition throughout the season, and we have some of those younger guys that we're looking to step into new roles, whether it's in the linebacker room, DB room, or defensive line room, right, they'll continue to do a great job for us in leading guys.
Anything else for Coach Brown? Coach, you got another question? Just go, I'm sorry.
Speaking about those leaders, how are you, I guess, helping them become like extensions of you, like on and off the field when you can't be there to teach those younger guys to step up?
Yeah, so what I try to do throughout camp is use our meeting time, right? So we have, a lot of time to meet, whether it's positionally or as a unit. So, a few times a week we'll meet as an entire unit defensively, and I have like a series of things that I'll go through, just talking about leadership, talking about, how to handle difficult situations and whatnot. So just trying to have our group together as much as I can, and not just always be about football, but like I said, talking about leadership, talking about, we had over the last few days, I've given those seniors not just Ken and Isaac, but I've given each senior the opportunity to get in front of the room and kind of tell everybody their story, their journey, you know, why they chose Mercer, and then offer a piece of advice to younger guys. So that's kind of what I've, you know, been able to do to try to continue to help those guys grow as leaders, you know, taking time to not just talk about football, but talk about, you know, leadership qualities and other things, you know, not football related.
Okay, anything else for Coach Brown? Coach, the word on the street is your biggest challenge this year, in the way we lost Isaac with friendly fire last year, and I've kidded Isaac about this. When Isaac makes a big play or the
No
defense makes a big
celebration.
play, just shake hands. Just shake hands.
There is a no celebration rule for Isaac.